Breastfeeding benefits communities. Thriving communities are built on strong families and a strong workforce. Breastfeeding promotes both. Breastfeeding promotes strong families by giving kids a healthier start in life, less risk of illness and disease. It helps mothers be healthier. There's less risk of postpartum depression, lower risk of breast and ovarian cancer. And it supports strong bonds between the family, both emotional and psychological. Breastfeeding also promotes a strong workforce, with decreased employee absenteeism to care for ill children, increased employee morale, and decreased employee turnover. Breastfeeding benefits communities. So it's time for communities to support breastfeeding. That's what I'm here to talk to you about today, becoming a breastfeeding-friendly city. I'm working to make my community the first breastfeeding-friendly city in the US. But what does it look like to create a breastfeeding-friendly city? Well, we've got to give mothers support from the moment that their baby is born to the time that they return to the workforce, and even all the times that they're out in our community, shopping, eating, doing whatever. So let's talk about that first moment when your baby is born. It's so important to have breastfeeding support there, and I know that firsthand. When little Winter was born, early, 2 months early, it was an emergency delivery that I wasn't even conscious for. He was immediately swept away, an hour away, to be in an intensive care unit. I wouldn't get to meet him for 4 days. But my nurse and my doula knew that I wanted to breastfeed. And I think he did too. So they helped me begin to pump breast milk before I was even strong enough to hold the pump for myself. There was a nurse on one side and my doula on the other, and they were holding up the breast pump. And one of them was holding my cell phone that had a picture of him on it. It was the first time I had seen him. And I was pumping because of their help. And I'm so glad to say that I was able to start breastfeeding successfully, and you can see I'm still breastfeeding successfully 7.5 months later. I know I would not have been able to do that without their support. Mothers need that support right away to begin breastfeeding successfully. But we know mothers also return to work, and that's a place where we need support as well. We can't just sort of turn it off when we get to work. We need access to time to take breaks and spaces to be able to pump in. And I'm not talking about a space like a disgusting, smelly bathroom. I've talked to so many women who said that at work they asked their boss, hey, can I have time and space to pump? And they said, sure, use that stall. Disgusting, right? They're pumping breast milk in a bathroom. Wait, let me rephrase that. They're preparing the most nutritious food they can for their baby on top of a toilet. We can do better than that, can't we? We can do better than that. And in fact, there are some businesses that are doing better than that. They're creating something called mother's rooms. And these are places that are private. And that's a really important part of this. I've talked to so many moms, too, who said, you know, I had a place to pump at work. Maybe it was my office or someone else's. And in the middle, I get a knock on the door. Oh, hey, have you read the report from, right? They're pumping. And I'll tell you, if you get interrupted, it really disrupts the whole process. So you need a place that's private. You need a place that's comfortable. You need a place that has a refrigerator to store your milk, and a place that has a sink nearby to be able to wash out your breast pump. And there's a business here in my community that's doing that. They've created mother's rooms. In fact, they're so popular, there's such a need for this, that they had to create an electronic scheduling system just to make sure everyone who needed it got access. When other businesses in my community heard about this, they started taking steps to become breastfeeding friendly too. And I heard from a friend of mine that her husband came home and said, did you hear they're making a breast room at our work? Another man that he worked with was so also impressed by this that he came over and said, you know they're making a breast room? Yeah, I already heard about that. Yeah, I heard that they're making a physical space so that women who want to provide optimum nutrition to their kids can have a place to perform a biological function. Yeah, I heard about that. They made a breast room. They made a mothering room. But it's not just at work that we need that support. To be a breastfeeding-friendly community, moms need to know that it's okay to feed their babies wherever they are, whenever they're hungry. And women don't always feel like that. I talked to so many moms who said, you know, I'm comfortable breastfeeding in public, but I'm not sure about other people. I don't know if they'll be offended. I don't know if they'll be grossed out. One guy asked me, well, if you're breastfeeding in a restaurant, is that sanitary? I mean, what if you're breastfeeding right next to me? And I was like, I know, what if I was eating right next to you? How upsetting, right? Another mom I know was talking about going to a grocery store, and she was breastfeeding her son, and another customer, a woman, walked up to her and said, you know, this isn't a strip club. Those kind of moments make moms feel like it's not okay to feed their kids wherever they need to, whenever they need to. So as a community, we can become breastfeeding friendly, not just at our hospitals, not just in our workplaces, but in every place that we are in our community, in our restaurants, in our places of worship, in our parks, in our shops. In fact, actually, some places in my community are already creating this welcoming sense, this breastfeeding-friendly environment. They welcome women to breastfeed wherever they want to in their business, and some have even created semi-private areas for women who would like to breastfeed or just console children, feed them however they want to, in a little bit more private of a space. We can make our city breastfeeding-friendly, and we'd be the first one in the US to have a breastfeeding-friendly city here in Brookings. But this can happen anywhere, and it takes all of us. I want to thank you for supporting me in breastfeeding here today. But we can take that out of TEDx and bring that into our communities. We can start at hospitals, giving mom the best possible start, helping her breastfeed right away. We can do that in our workplaces by giving breastfeeding moms the time and space that they need to make the food for their babies that they need to. And we can do that out in our communities, in our businesses, in our parks, in our places of worship. We can be the ones, instead of making snide comments or giving sideways glances, we can be the ones that go up to that mom and say, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad to have you in our community. I'm so glad you're making our community strong by giving your child the best possible nutrition. Join me in making our city and cities across the nation breastfeeding friendly. Thank you.